Hello, I'm Ricky Church for Flickering Myth. I'm here with the Mandalorian's Emily Swallow, who plays the Armorer. How are you doing, Emily?
I'm very well, thank you.
All right, so obviously, Star Wars is such a huge franchise. What's it been like for you these past few years joining the Star Wars universe and such a beloved show as The Mandalorian has been now?
It just keeps getting better and better. It's so much fun. I mean, first of all, when I go to work, even though I work on this role as I do everything else, like I put in my time and do my research and I do my training. And I mean, I've done blacksmith training and I've done fight training and I've done all the fun things that I get to do. Um, you know, one of the best things about being an actor is all the new skills that you get to acquire.
Mhm.
But I do all my my serious work for the character, but then I get to set and I'm like, I'm getting paid to play Star Wars. And I'm taken back to when I was a kid and I would play Ewok Adventures in my backyard because like
Yeah.
Ewoks were my jam when I was a kid.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just incredible. And it's kind of gone from being this surreal, very mysterious thing at first because season one I knew so little about what was
Mhm.
going on because of all the mystery around it and because I really wasn't in the show that much. You know, the
Yeah.
armor was a strong presence, but didn't I shot maybe 7 days.
Mhm.
So I truly just didn't know that many people. I went to the premiere and I was told basically say nothing. So I'm like on the red carpet and they're asking me questions and I'm just smiling and I'm like, I don't know. And watching it all unfold. And then I started doing the conventions and seeing the impact that the show had and getting to hear from the fans about what they were taking from it. And of course, all the fan theories about who the armorer might be and
Mhm.
what he might stand for. And what has just had the deepest impact on me is the span of generations that this
Mhm.
show impacts. And it's so profound to me that the youngest little kids can watch with their grandparents and
Mhm.
people my age, from high school are messaging me and they're saying, I think I'm cool because I know you. And like my nephews think I'm cool. Like this is the only thing I've ever done that they care about. And it is truly, especially now after doing season three, where I got to be on set a lot more because I'm
Mhm.
in for the season, and I've just gotten to know everybody so much more. And John and Dave are such incredible, um, like the best team captains you could ever have.
Mhm.
They create such a trusting, collaborative environment, and they really do. I mean, their ideas are brilliant, but they trust the rest of their team so much and they trust us with these characters and they trust the ideas that everyone else brings in. So we we all, work out these ideas together. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just been such a joy to get to create it. And it's been such an interesting challenge too, to get to play this character who is inside this helmet all the
Yeah.
time. And it's just a blast.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So as you kind of said, The Mandalorian's like become this huge thing since it premiered, and you've met fans at conventions, and they've swapped theories with you. Why do you think people are so drawn to The Mandalorian, in particular, since it doesn't have any of the traditional kind of stuff Star Wars is known for. Like there's not a lot of Jedi or space fighting and stuff like that. So what is it about the Mandalorian that like makes people excited?
Well, I think that it does thematically. I think that it goes back to those original movies. And
Hmm.
I think that it also, I mean, there's so many Easter eggs for people who love Star
Oh
Wars.
yeah. Hmm.
Um far more than I can catch. You know, I went into this thinking like, oh yeah, I know Star Wars, and then quickly found out how much I don't know. Um, but I think also, I mean, when I was first started working on it, before I started shooting, John and Dave told me that one of their references, particularly for the armor, was they suggested I go back and look at Kurosawa films, and I was familiar with
Oh yeah,
Kurosawa,
yeah.
and I knew that Lucas had used Kurosawa as an inspiration, and I think that that's part of it, that John and Dave like really wanted to go back to a lot of the things that had inspired George Lucas when he created those original three movies, and and to really get back in touch with that core of the stories. And it shows, you know, there's many fans who will tell you like why various Star Wars properties work or don't work, and I'm not even gonna attempt to go there. But I do think that the heart of the Mandalorian is very much in line with the heart of the original trilogy,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then just the style of it, the space western, and you know, getting to go back to Tatooine and
Hmm.
some of those familiar places, I think um is particularly helpful, and it's just so it feels nostalgic even though it's
Hmm.
new territory.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And as you said, we've seen so little of the armorer throughout the series so far, but she's like made such a big impact as well. Um, like she's quite a mysterious and compelling character, like following the strict doctrine of their Mandalorian clan slash cult. um, so how do you tap into a character who keeps so much of herself secret?
Well, the key for her to me is that she exists so fully in service of her people. And I'm always, you know, I'm always with a character to break it down to like the
Hmm.
absolute like brass tacks. It's always, you know, okay, what does this character want? What's my objective? And whereas most characters are trying to figure out what's best for them, what is best for her is usually what's best for the Mandalorians. Um,
Hmm.
and by extension of that, I think she figured out somewhere along the way that, and we've talked a lot about her and how much she knows about the future. And I wouldn't say that she is she's not like psychic. She can't
Hmm.
see exactly what's going to happen, but she has sort of a sixth sense about things. She is very much in touch with feelings about people, feelings about changes and energy,
Hmm.
and so I think she has sensed for a while that there is something with Din that is important for her people. And so because she
Hmm.
is invested in what is best for her people, she's invested in him and what is best for him, because there seems to be, you know, maybe there's a connection between the two.
Hmm.
Um and so I feel like I've lost track of the original question. You were asking how I tap into.
Yeah, how he tapped into like just like such a secretive
Oh,
character.
right. So I'm generally thinking, okay, well, what's going to serve Din best? Even if he doesn't think so, which is a
Hmm.
tricky thing. But she really is. She's so interesting to me because she's a character that ultimately feels like she's in service of other people, in service
Hmm.
to the story, in a way that's very different from anyone that I've ever played. And she is somebody who um, I don't need to know as much about her personally as I do most other characters. I actually find that to be a bit of a hindrance. and that's an interesting place to exist. And I focus more on sort of who she is as an archetype, and she is sort of within the structure of this myth, I guess. And we've talked a lot about that too, like how this greater like myth functions and this hero's
and she's like a myth teller too.
Yeah. And John has talked about her as sort of the Merlin to Din's Arthur.
Oh yeah.
So it's really helpful also to look at those parallel relationships and other stories. And so then I think, okay, well, how would that person handle this? Because she's always, it always seems like there's something that she knows that she's not letting on. Yeah. And sometimes I don't even know what that something is, but it feels like there should be something. And so I play that something, even if I don't know specifically what it is.
Do you, when you're in a scene like that and you're reading the lines, do you ever get like a hint from John and Dave, like, put a lot of emphasis on this line, like, we can't tell you yet why, but just, like, do you ever get that kind of advice?
We just sort of, I am encouraged to just play with it and try different things. And then, they'll use whatever feels most useful, because we'll do different takes. And then, while we're shooting it, and then if they don't get what they want, we'll go back, we do ADR sessions and we'll talk about it in there if we still don't have what we want. And, so it's a lot of play, and then we'll just take what works.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that like you've done training like in blacksmith and some fighting stuff. We've seen the armor fight a little bit. There's that like great sequence at the end of season 1 where she took on stormtroopers, and then this season premiere they were all fighting that like big lake monster together. So how much of the stunt training have you had to do, and what's it like also wearing that Mandalorian suit?
Wearing the suit is ridiculously awkward. And it makes even the most basic actions very challenging. So things like fighting in it, and that fight in season 1, and the fact that I was absolutely not able to do that at that level, that's why I wanted to start doing training, because I found out there was going to be that fight, and I approached our fight choreographer Ryan, and I said, listen, like, I'm super athletic, I've done boxing training, I've done this, I've done that, like, I'll do it. And the fight, it was like 2 weeks away, because everything, like in movies, you have like months and months to train for something like that. Television, not so much. So it was like 2 weeks away when I found out about it. And he said, okay, do you have any martial arts training? And I said, well, no, but I'll work really hard. And he was like, oh, that's cute. Okay. He said, well, it's based in Kali. You can work with somebody and maybe you can do some transitions, but I don't think you're going to be able to handle it. And I was like, all right, fine. And so I did work with somebody for a couple of weeks, and that was tremendously satisfying. But, I did not do the fight. I didn't even see the fight until the episode aired. And then when I saw it, and that was Lauren Kim, who I was just working with her this morning doing some training.
Okay. Yeah.
And I saw it and I said, oh, okay. Because if I had attempted to do that, you would have seen me work really, really hard, but it would not have looked like that. I mean, especially in that suit, it's incredible what she was able to do. And she's been fighting like that for, over a decade.
Yeah. She's a great stunt woman.
She's incredible. Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, I want to be available to do stuff that I can. So then when that episode of the Book of Boba Fett came along, before I even knew whether or not there was anything to do, I was like, listen, if there's any kind of fight, like I want to try to train. And so I did like get a jump on that training sequence with the dark saber, and I was able to learn all of that choreography, and that was complicated, is that fight with the stormtroopers. But still, I had to practice a long time because I just don't have that foundation.
Yeah.
Now I've been like trying to do it, in the off season so that whatever comes up,
Yeah, you'll be
hopefully.
ready for it. Yeah.
But sometimes it's a matter of we're shooting so much at once. Like sometimes I'll be off shooting a scene while they're trying to do a stunt sequence or a fight scene. So sometimes for insurance reasons they won't let us do it.
Yeah.
So I did do part of the stuff. I got sandy and I got wet during that stuff with the nobody knows what to call that creature.
Yeah, I tried looking it up and I couldn't find an official name either. So.
Yeah, and now like several interviews I've done, people are like that gator monster,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
But that was actually in a lot of that. Let's see, some days we were shooting. Jesse Graff was doubling me. Some days it was Joanna Bennett. And then some days it was me. So I don't even know, like watching it. I know that all the super technical stuff was not me, like any wire work flying through the air. I don't have that stunt training, but it is definitely a group effort. And my helmet goes off to the ladies that double me because they work really hard to try to make sure that we all are moving the same as the armorer, so telling the right story and that her movement is faithful to the character.
Awesome. And so today there's been a new Mandalorian episode. I haven't caught it yet. I'm saving that for tonight.
I haven't either. I haven't seen it
yet. Yeah, but so far from what I've picked up on with the first two episodes, we've been learning a lot more about like Mandalorian culture and Mandalore history. So how much more do you think, like, is that an aspect that's excited you this season to like learn a bit more about Mandalore and possibly even visiting it? And since the armor, as you've said, like possibly knows a lot more than she's letting on, like, is there anything that that the rest of the cast might not?
I think that it's really exciting that we're delving into these questions that I think fans have had for a long time about what has divided the Mandalorians and these rifts between them surrounding should we leave the helmet on? Should we take it off? And whose fault it is that Mandalore was lost, and whether or not there is a responsibility to do anything with Mandalore. I think it's exciting to start to scratch the surface of those questions. And I don't know if there's anything that I know that the rest of the cast doesn't know, because the way that they communicate information to us is all so secretive and convoluted. Who knows?